Hello everyone and welcome back to TIMBERBORN. This is episode 4 playing through hard mode. In the last episode we survived another drought and you can see that we are currently in a bad tide over here. Thanks to the bad water diversion system we are able to punt the bad water out over here and it is not a problem for the beavers of this colony. We currently have our production powered by beaver power as you can see right here. But we are in the process of building an engine and it requires some gears and metal blocks which we are still making. And then once they finish that, we'll be able to have a higher utilization in terms of power output. We also set up a second farm over here. We have some kohlrabi and cassavas planted, as well as some soybeans and canola. But we can't process those yet because we need to get another fermenter station set up and then also an oil press. And you can also see that the water around here is actually getting pretty low. We are just about out. And so once the water evaporates out of here, then probably some of these crops are going to start dying. Although we have this fluid dump set up right here, so worst case scenario we could lower this and then have some of the water spread out over here. And by the time that happens the bad tide should be over, which would mean that we could lower these gates and get some water back into here. We were also experiencing a wood shortage, but you can see that we have a beaver up here chopping some of these trees. And we do have a few trees that are finally growing up over here. We do have plenty of water reserves, almost 1,000 at this point. So it's not a problem that this guy's dumping some extra water into here. Coming up pretty shortly, I think we should get another one of these set up over here, and then we won't have to worry about the water evaporating out of this area. That will mean that we'll need to get rid of a couple of these water storage tanks. Now it looks like we're actually also running a little bit short on beavers. We have 8 vacant jobs, so I think it's time to get another couple breeding pods, help boost our population just a little bit. We're doing pretty good on food. We could use some more variety, but we are in the process of getting that set up. Once we can get our power production online, then we can start looking at getting the buildings to process some of these extra foods. And with only 1 day left in the bad tide, it looks like the water hasn't quite evaporated yet. I think that is definitely thanks to having the fluid dump pour the water in here and have it spill out into this area. The beavers are making decent progress on getting all this set up. We can get another fluid dump set here, although we do want to prioritize having the breeding pod set up first. And you can see that the water actually did finally dry up, but we do have a couple days before these crops die. And at that point the bad tide will be over, so we can go ahead and lower these. We just have to wait another half a day or so. And if we go ahead and lower this, we'll have the rest of the water spread out just enough to get some of these crops green again. And we can pause this and lower this just to allow some of the water to flow through this area once we lower this and the water has come back. And as you can see, it didn't take very long for the water to push everything out. Now we can go ahead and flood this area. And we also should slow time down just a little bit so we can rearrange the jobs, because now we have to replenish all the water and that means turning on all these water pumps. And we ended with 659 water, which is absolutely fantastic. And even assuming we have more beavers, I think we'll be good for the next drought. Although it was a relatively short drought compared to what it can be in hard mode. So we'll keep looking at expanding our water storage. But with 16 vacant jobs, that is no good. So we have to start pausing some jobs. And I almost forgot to raise this, but now that it is, you can see the water is backing up pretty quickly. And there is a surge of water going through here. And we do not want to have beavers sitting around, so we'll go ahead and pause one of these farmhouses. We still have 14 jobs to go. Scrap metal is not essential during a wet season. Fluid dumps can also be paused. We're doing okay on wood, so we can go ahead and pause one of these lumberjack flags. We're nearing the end of day 2 and we're already up to 1100 water, which makes me think we don't need all these water pumps, at least not for the full duration. So I think during the next drought or bad tide, once we have this engine finally finished, then we can look at storing up some planks and gears and then get some more of these medium water tanks set up. Because if we can have a couple more of those placed down, that really will expand our water storage capacity. Now I did mention in the last episode I would like to set up some levees and dams across here. That way we could store some extra water. And we are starting to go up in wood, although it seems like we have quite a few things that we want to construct first. One of which being this oil press. We can go ahead and unlock it and have it start getting constructed. This takes logs, planks, and gears. We are not currently making gears. We're just trying to keep the efficiency as high as possible on this, but as I'm saying that, we just finished making this engine. So now we can pause all these beavers, and then we can go ahead and get this gear workshop online. And I think right off the bat we should just start working on another engine because we're going to have quite a bit of stuff that we want to power over here. So I have started setting up this next storage area for the water. I don't like dams actually, because it seems like the water physics are a little questionable. Like in the last drought, half the water in here just got voided out as soon as we raised this up. But I don't see that happen as often with the floodgates. And also, as I'm speaking, we have a lot of beavers sitting around. So we'll pause a few of them, and then we can start unpausing some other jobs. It is the beginning of day 6, and it looks like we have a bad tide that is approaching. Good thing is we are completely maxed out on water now. Although we will need to lower these floodgates in order to void some of the water over here, so we're going to start doing that right now. And we're also going to try and set up a second industrial lumber mill, because we are completely out of planks, and we need planks for the gears, and then also for building some of these other structures, like the medium water tank, and then also some of the buildings over here. And since this only takes wood, it shouldn't be too long before they can construct it. And once the bad tide starts, we're going to have a few more beavers to work, so we're going to throw them in some of these jobs over here, because our wood count is dropping a bit, and we have a lot of trees over here that also need to be cut down. So we're going to actually put in some showers over here, because we don't actually have anywhere for the beavers to take a shower right now. And it looks like we're actually going to be able to build this medium water tank just in time, although I don't think we're going to get to fill it that much before the bad tide hits. On the bright side, we are doing a lot better in planks. Now we just need some gears. And with how many things that we need, it might not be a bad idea to get another gear workshop set up. I almost didn't lower this in time, so it almost started spilling out this way, which would have been a disaster. But everything else is looking good for the beavers. We do have some unemployed ones, so we'll start sticking them in some of these farmhouses. Although we are in desperate need of wood, so let's go and unpause. Oh my goodness. We will unpause some of these lumberjack flags. Although it looks like we are actually maxed out on storage for kohlrabi, so let's have this guy assign a kohlrabi also. Try and get some more reserves up. So now we have our third medium water storage tank set up. Next thing is going to be to get rid of these 4 and then get a 4th one started. And we'll have them work on this. This won't be a super big priority. I'd rather them get the engine and this oil press set up first. Looks like the bad tide is only going to last another 7 days, and we should have enough water to make it through that, but by the next wet season we should be prepared to get a lot more water saved up. And we have the first shower that we constructed, which should be helping their well-being out, since it gives them the basic needs of wet fur, and up until now the only beaver who would be exposed to water would be the one walking into here. Oh, it looks like our oil press is going. Do we have this guy? I set to soybeans and cassavas. So now, with every 6 soybeans and then 1 unit of canola oil, we should get 20 fermented soybeans. And we don't have any storage for that actually, so we need to get one of those set up now. Oh, it looks like the beavers are making good progress over here. They're making their way across the canal, and we could actually get some more water pumpers set up over here. Although we'll probably wait to do that until we cannot pump enough water with some of these ones. So with the second lumber mill and gear workshop are finally able to scale up production a little bit. We're still a bit short on gears, but after they build this engine and then this other medium water storage tank, we should be able to start saving up some gears for the future. Now we're also at the point where, since we have some metal saved up, although we don't actually have that much because we don't have storage for metal blocks. So now that we will be able to store metal blocks relatively soon, we should also look at using some of those metal blocks to get some of the bad water. And we have plenty of science stored up, so we can go ahead and unlock this. And we can have the first one constructed. And once we have access to bad water, then we can start looking at getting some explosives factories. And getting access to this would allow us to get all the way over here and then clear a nice little channel so we can fill this up with water. Now we're actually overachieving in power because we have 2 engines. It looks like both of those are enough to provide power for all these facilities. Oh man, this guy's sitting around. We do not want that. Looks like we're just waiting on this one platform to be constructed. And then as soon as they finish this, then you can start moving some of these metal blocks into this storage pile. So I was just looking around and I actually can't see any mines on this map. And I was pretty concerned about what we would do in the long run in terms of scrap metal. But if you come over here and then turn off the water visibility, you can see that we have 2 mines smack dab in the middle of this bad water pool. So we're going to have to figure out how to divert the bad water around these 2, but thankfully we do not need to worry about that for quite a while because we have access to the scrap metal over here, and then also the scrap metal over here and here. Oh, but we don't have any storage for the canola oil. Let's go ahead and repurpose some of these to canola oil. The beavers are nearly finished constructing this dam over here. They just need to work on this last platform and then all of these floodgates. And that'll be just in time for the wet season to start because we only have less than a day left now. And oh my goodness, we have trees out the wazoo. Now in terms of well-being, let's take a look. We don't really have that many beavers with wet fur. And then most of them don't have access to any of this stuff either. So let's look at getting some fun things set up for them. Although with the bad tide just about to end, we do want to have this prioritized now. They didn't actually end up getting to this at all. Thankfully we have a lot of planks and a lot of gear stored up, so they should be able to build this pretty quickly. And we can go ahead and start unpausing these water pumps. But that does mean we have a lot of vacant jobs now. And they pumped all this dry, so we can go ahead and start lowering this. And per usual, we're going to have a little bit of flooding go on. And I think we were down to around 400 water, but now we should have a lot more capacity. And I would get rid of this path and then start replacing some of these with these medium water pumps, although I am thinking ahead and we're going to want to be placing in these large tanks at some point. So this will probably be the next upgrade and we'll get rid of some of these big ones and put these in. Well, it looks like we are almost completely out of cassava, so let's switch this guy to soybeans. We have a lot of canola oil and soybeans stored up, so this guy will not be sitting around doing nothing. Looks like they also finished the dam, so now we're going to have a bit of water that we can store it back here. And since we've almost filled up half of the water storage at this point, we're going to get another medium tank set up over here. That way these beavers don't have to walk all the way over here to put some water into a storage container. We're going to even get a couple more breeding pods set up and also prioritize these because we have a lot that we can do, but we don't quite have enough beavers to do it all. We did get this dam set up, but I have been waiting to announce what I want to do until now, and that is I want to set up a huge dam around here. And then we'll also set up a bad water diversion system right in the beginning. That way we can keep all the water in here drinkable and usable, and then spit the bad water out over in this direction during the bad tide. But a project of this scale will take a lot of beavers and then probably another district. So maybe we should start looking at getting a district set up somewhere up in this area. And we still haven't had any sort of event announced. We're doing pretty good on water collection, but it is day 4 of the wet season, which means that any day now we're going to have a drought or a bad tide announced. And speaking of bad water, it looks like they just started constructing this deep bad water pump. And since we started working on this, I bet that the next event is going to be a drought, which means that we will not have any bad water over here to pump. Wow, we have already stored up a lot of fermented soybeans. You can tell the beavers are enjoying their showers. We have 4 of them. We have room for just 1 more. We did get a couple campfires constructed, but I'm thinking we should get a couple rooftop terraces set up here. And we have a drought approaching in the next 3 days. We are doing fantastic on water. Food's looking good. Wood is looking good. I'd say we're looking pretty good for this upcoming drought. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's episode. We got a lot done. We have scaled up production. We have a couple engines and then 2 lumber mills and gear workshops set up. Food, we have so much that we can't even harvest all of it. And then water is doing fantastic, over 2,000. And it looks like we actually just finished setting up this deep bad water pump. And we've maxed out the bad water, so now we can start storing it in here before the drought appears. So if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and smash that like button. I really do appreciate it. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and consider becoming a channel member. And with that, we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.